Hi and welcome to Youth Talk, a podcast run by Baptist Youth, where in each episode we take a different topic and think about it from the perspective of a Christian young person. Today I'm joined with Matt, I'm Andrew, and today we're going to think about the topic of time management and laziness. So to kick us off, Matt, I just want to ask you, I don't know if you've ever experienced an issue of maybe laziness or poor time management in your life, and maybe you want to share, I don't know.
Yeah, probably whenever I think about time management and laziness, Andrew and I were talking before this, we're probably the least qualified people. Well, I know I'm definitely one of the least qualified people to talk about this. If someone who knew me really well was watching this and knew I was doing an episode on time management, they might laugh. Probably when I think about laziness and time management and when it was very poor in my life, it's probably actually when I was a young person. And I particularly think about when I was at university. I think when you're young, you've got probably more time than you'll ever have in your life. You know, you go to sometimes, well, I know at university, like if you start class at 10 a.m, everyone's like, oh, unlucky, that's a pretty early start, you know, that's the only time in your life, 10 a.m. is like an early start. And you just kind of maybe are in for maybe, in some cases, 5 hours a week, other cases maybe 15 hours a week. If you're a medical student or something, maybe it's quite intense, but for a lot of people, it's not really. I did a maths degree, which was quite tough, but I was probably in class about 3 hours a day, so I did have a lot of free time. And just on reflection, didn't use that well. I think now, a number of years later, I can think about all the things I would have loved to do, books I'd love to read, you know, things I'd love to learn, and all these things that kind of go through my mind that back then would have been a brilliant opportunity to do it when I had all this time at university, and just really didn't make the most of it. So that's probably the time that really sticks out in my mind, university. There's still probably, I don't know about you, but still I feel like there's maybe spells, maybe you have a week where you just feel like you're really unproductive, or maybe you have a day off, you know, whether it's a Saturday or whatever the case may be, and you kind of look back on your day off and you think, what did I actually do with my day off? I could have used that so much more effectively. And I think now there's just more and more opportunities to be lazy and to waste time with all the kind of forms of entertainment. But I suppose, Andrew, when we think about this topic of laziness and time management, as Christians, we always want to go to the Bible and kind of ask the question, what does the Bible say? Does the Bible say anything about these things, or what
yeah, it does. Everything you say there honestly could describe me, like down to a T. But I was thinking, whenever we discussed the topic of time management, what does the Bible say? And I actually was able to fish out a wee book, a book called Crazy Lazy by Alistair Begg. I had it a few years ago and I picked it up again. And it's brutal when you read it. It's mostly focused on Proverbs, opening Proverbs, I think it's 24, 25, 26. Talks about a lazy person, or describes somebody as a sluggard.
Great word.
I know, it's horrible. But
it just sounds horrible.
It's
described as a sluggard just even sounds like an insult.
And the worst thing was, I was reading it and like a sluggard, like, oh, that's horrible. And every verse was just describing me. Yeah, and as you say, I actually definitely university, like I did French and Spanish, so I was not in 3 hours a day, I was in like 10 hours a week. Yeah. And I just feel like the habits that I didn't build in have had an effect now, where I'm not as effective with my time management as I'd like to be. But no, concerning the Bible, in Proverbs I was reading, it describes a lazy person or a sluggard as like a door on a hinge. A lazy person is like hinged to their bed. So like anytime they want to do something, that they maybe move a little bit, you know, and get a bit more comfortable, and then the hinge the other way, but they're never actually like getting up. They're always kind of procrastinating, you know, so they're always there's something to be done, and they're always saying, I will do it, but I'll just give me 5 more minutes, you know, give me 5 more minutes, I'll snuggle in, I'll get a bit more comfortable. And I'm sure you felt the same, but I'm a expert procrastinator. But yeah, it was just interesting reading the Bible and actually explicitly talking about people who are putting off things. And as a consequence of that, I suppose, like, they're never actually being fulfilled, you know, by maybe having a goal that is set out, and you maybe have all the will in the world. I remember making a plan, I'm going to do this, and you know the steps that you need to take, but then whatever actually comes to it, you're just like, you know, I'll do it another time. So the Bible talks about the person who has the goal, and their dream will actually be the death of them, because they're always reaching for it, but they're never prepared to actually go for it. And so they end up just never being satisfied, never reaching it. And then just in one of those Proverbs as well, I was talking about the person who procrastinates, wastes time, isn't prepared to do the work, often has like this like high view of themselves, as like this distorted like understanding. I've often found it myself, like it's just real like pride that is tangible in front of you, where the Bible talks about this person who's put off things thinks of themselves as wiser like 7 other people who are speaking like clearly and discreetly, even though like this lazy person themselves not doing anything. And I just find it really challenging, because you often are kind of just disillusioned, where by knowing something doesn't mean you're actually doing it. And I find that just quite challenging in my own life, just looking at how am I using my time, how am I using it well. I don't know if that's familiar for you.
You said about being disillusioned and becoming a high view of yourself. It kind of just prompted a memory in my head whenever I was probably about 16. And 16-year-old off on summer, so you've got all the time in the world. Literally every day you wake up, you've nothing to do. And I remember like every so often my dad would ask me to cut the grass, and I remember being like, God, I don't have time to cut it. How can I be able to cut the grass? You know, it was like the smallest task. Our garden wasn't very big. It would have taken me 15 minutes. But I was appalled that he would ask me to cut the grass. I'm like, I can't. You know, it's that idea of, as you say, the pride kicks in. It's like you think that your time is more important than other people's time.
Exactly. It's so excusey, isn't it? You just suddenly, and you're the most. I find you make the most creative excuses in the world. Like all of a sudden, you're like, oh, you know what? Actually, I was going to do this, that, and the other.
The other thing that came to mind there when you were speaking was COVID. They're talking about like how we always palm things off. I think for so long, whenever we think about being Christians, we always think, oh, I would read the Bible more if I had more time, or if I would be more proactive as a Christian if I had more time. And then COVID came, and for certainly a few months we had all the time in the world. But for loads of us, if we're honest, even as we reflect on COVID, we probably didn't all use the time as wisely we could have. We binged Netflix, or we did X, Y, Z. Be interesting just reflecting on what were my actual things that I said I would do if I had more time. Did I do those things during COVID? My answer for me is probably no, it didn't. I probably 100%. Just found more excuses to waste time.
100%. Yeah, that's a great example. I knew, like, I was gonna start running 5Ks and then, learn how to play the guitar and everything else. So I don't know. Thinking about that, then, have you any maybe thoughts as to why we should manage our time well? Like, considering kind of how the Bible has outlined that, why should we be intentional about time management?
I think one thing the Bible always mentions that really, I suppose, challenges me is just this idea of you have one life and it's really, really short, and this idea of wasting time then is wasting just this unique one life that we've been given. I remember seeing years ago an illustration by Francis Chan, probably everyone's seen it, where he gets the big long piece of rope, like 20 meters long piece of rope, and at the end of it he attaches like a few inches of red tape, and he says, imagine this rope as a timeline of your existence, and he says your time on earth would just be like this little tiny red part, and the rest would be your eternity in heaven or hell if you're not a Christian. And it was just really, really striking of, oh my goodness, we've got one chance at this life, one time here on earth. And I'm probably feeling this a little bit more. I turned 30 recently, Andrew. It hit me quite hard.
No, I'm not looking forward to it.
Most people, it's not a big deal, but it hit me quite hard, to be honest. I'm the prime candidate for a midlife crisis in a few years. But I suppose as I grew, I'm not super old, but as I get older every year, I suppose I have more of a profound sense of not wanting to waste time. And I think that's something that I think should convict us all as Christians, as the Bible talks about it quite a lot. Have you got any tips as you think about time management and laziness, as we've had this discussion, and come to your mind?
I know, I'm laughing just because we were saying before, we are least expert people to talk about this. But no, I think what I've certainly found and have heard other people talk about is, I've maybe either been really overwhelmed with so many tasks that I have to do that I put them off, or I just don't have like the oomph to actually do anything. But I find actually literally making a list or like writing things down so that I can actually see what my goals are. So it's not just something that would be good to do at some point, but actually, okay, it's in front of me. And even, sometimes I've made a list and there's 15 things on it, but then actually prioritising or thinking, I've got 3 hours tonight, what is doable, and having a realistic expectation I find is more helpful rather than something it sounds brilliant, but it's so unrealistic that whenever I don't do it, it's just like another punch to my gut that I didn't do it again, so I'll put it off next time. So I find that, I think, and
it feels good anytime you take a week to do list and you take it off. It feels good, like, doesn't it?
Just score it out.
I feel very proud. Maybe that's not a good thing, but it feels good.
But I think there's there's satisfaction and joy in accomplishing goals, and so I think that's just one simple thing, and especially maybe students going through school, coming to exam time or exam years, you suddenly do get, like, I'm a teacher and I know the amount of work I'm piling on my students, and then they've got 12 other subjects. So it's helpful just to have something that you can work towards, but it's just a tangible step that you can reach and do. And because obviously you're never going to get everything that you ever want to do, but that doesn't mean you put off just a little bit. I was actually on church on Sunday. Our pastor mentioned Jesus is actually a really good example of this. You know, you think about Jesus in the New Testament. He's walking through, you know, town to town with his disciples, and the difference in the disciples, they're like, right, let's go see these new people, let's go heal these people, let's go teach these people, we're going to feed these people. And they're always urging Jesus to come from house to house and move on. Whereas Jesus is actually like, he's just kind of slow, and he's not, and of course he's aware of like the hundreds of people here and in the next town and the next town, but he's just kind of slow and calm and focused on his objective and his mission. And I think that's a good example for us to follow, that you know, we don't have to be doing everything, but if we can focus on what's attainable, we can glorify God with the, as you mentioned, the time that we have, and use it for him. So yeah, I don't know if that's
brilliant. It's really helpful
for you too,
really
but
helpful.
Yeah, I thought it was really really good example.
Brilliant, helpful.
So yes, that's thinking about time management and laziness. I would encourage anybody who maybe has that issue, maybe to chat to a friend as well. You're definitely not the only one. We've both been through school, university, and by no means experts. But yes, hopefully that's been helpful. And as I say, we'll be back next time with another episode of Youth Talk, thinking about another issue. See you soon.
See ya.